Welcome to the space where creators have aligned a positive and intellectual collab of open minds. For sharing and learning from one another, it's a vibe. We do Rosa podcast on the mic. Subscribe, Educator spitting bars. I guess you didn't know I'm multifaceted and humble, checking off life goals. The classroom is my comfort zone where I plant and sow seeds of knowledge, compassion, empathy, and hope. Reading is the key to unlocking your potential. Countless benefits, including cognitive and mental. Regardless of the genre, books are highly influential. Go get yours, I'll get mine. Making strides, monumental. And rock with me and get down to this new jam. With my friends, I had a very simple plan. Educate the masses through books and life lessons. It's the grand slam. I'm out. Talo Falava and welcome to the Reads with Rosa podcast. On today's show, we have an educator who is a change maker, a risk taker, and an inspirational role model for young people in her community. As an associate dean and technology teacher at Avondale College, she is the lead and the voice behind many initiatives which promote leadership and educational pathways for Pasifika students and support for Pasifika teachers at her school. She is currently a Pacific Teaching Fellow at Otago University's Higher Education Development Center. I'm really excited to introduce to the show fellow educator Viah Alai.
Woo!
welcome, sis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you, Rosa, for the invitation. I've been following your podcast in the past, and so it's been nice, hearing your guests, what they talk about, their professions, their journey. And so it's just an honor to be here on your platform and hopefully share some of my journey and hoping to inspire those out there as well.
Yeah. That's awesome, sis. I mean, I know I've been waiting for a long time to get you on the show. It's such an honor. Like, it truly is. You're someone that I look to as just not just an amazing role model for your students, but for us as fellow educators. When we look to see what other Pasifika educators are doing, you're definitely someone who's out there just smashing not only professional goals, but really getting our students amped for their futures. And I'm excited that you're here to share a bit of your journey. How's Dunedin? How's Dunners? Is it Dunners stunner? It's cold.
But I'm loving it. It's different from Auckland, the humidity. So It's been nice just to take a step back and enjoy the nice fresh air down here. So it's been good so far. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy because it's spring, but it was snowing like a few weeks ago in Dunedin.
Yeah.
Man, is it nice being back in Dunners? Obviously a lot smaller than Auckland. I mean, it's home for you. In a way.
Yeah, that's right. It's been different coming back, as a professional this time. And, being away for 6 years and coming back a different person to who my community saw me as a young youth growing up down here in Dunedin and then, finishing uni. So it's been nice to reconnect with, church family and community as well down here. Yeah.
Oh, well, we're going to get into that, folks. We are going to get into, I mean, when Viah just said 6 years, it made me realize how time flies. And even I was thinking 6 years, man, that's wow, time flies. So before we get into just so many different elements of your journey, I like to ask my guests to just do a brief intro and really just to shout out your villages.
Yeah, cool. So as mentioned, I'm Guinevere Alai. I hail from the villages of Viah and Savai'i and also Mota'a. I'm a New Zealand-born Samoan, born in Auckland, raised in Auckland till about the age of 15. And then my family and I moved down to Dunedin in 2002, where I spent another 13 years down here, so second home, where I finished high school and university. And then I had the privilege of getting a job back in Auckland, so moving back up, a teaching role at Avondale College, where you mentioned I wore many hats there for Pasifika student success. And so now currently I'm back in Dunedin as a Pasifika teaching fellow here. And so it's been good so far, my journey, but I'm excited to share a bit about it later on. But that's where I am at the moment.
Man, I always forget that you were born in Auckland. I don't know why. It's just, I forget that you're an Aucklander. obviously Dunedin,
Yeah.
is another home for you as well. I was wondering, like, when did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher? Was it a dream that you had from a very young age, or is it something that you, I don't know, like just really started thinking more about as you were uh, going through university?
Mm. No, it's funny that you mentioned or asked that question. Teaching was never a profession that I actually thought about growing up. Taking back, going all the way back when I was young, Mum actually said I actually told her that I wanted to be a cleaner when I was young.
Mm.
I don't know, maybe my cleaning fetish started then. But as I grew older, I think high school, I kind of wanted to look at psychology, be a psychologist,
Mm.
because I watched that Sixth Sense movie. And it was
Oi.
really just inspired about how psychologists work, and the just that curiosity of wanting to understand people.
Mm.
But then, growing up in Dunedin, being connected to the Samoan church, Efakasa, and also
Mm.
our Pacific community, I've always been involved with youth through, Aotearoa or community outreach programs like homework centres. And then going through uni, being a part of, Samoan Students Association, working with student services and the Pacific Island Centre, helping out with, mentoring. I've always found myself in those situations
Mm.
or events, environments. But then in 2014, I took up a role as a teacher aide at a local Dunedin high school, where I was hired to be a role model to the current Pasifika students then, which was an eye opener, just to see our high school students in the classroom, how they went about their day at high school and being amongst, the dominant culture of Baalangis everywhere.
Mm.
And that kind of opened my eyes, like, there wasn't really any other Pasifika teacher there for the students to look up to connect to. So I think that's where that wanting to be a teacher came about. Because I was a teacher aide, so they don't have certain powers to do certain things, and so I think it was from there kind of ignited, like, I really want to be a teacher so I can make a positive change in the classrooms, or help and support non-Pasifika teachers engage with our Pasifika students better.
Mm.
So
You know,
that's,
yeah,
yeah.
when you were doing your schooling well, in Auckland, but then also Dunedin,
Mm.
were you seeing Pasifika teachers in the classrooms, or Maori and Pasifika teachers in your classrooms, or was that still at a point where um, it was still very like Balangi teachers
Yeah, I think,
dominating?
yep. So from schooling in Auckland to Dunedin, yeah, I think majority of my teachers would have been Palangi. Uh, I hardly saw any Pasifika teachers. I think in Auckland there would usually be like PE teachers
Mm.
or language language teachers, and then coming into Dunedin was a whole different environment. Was majority was Palangi students and also Palangi teachers. So yeah, I didn't really get to experience having a Pasifika teacher. However, when I came to my first school in Dunedin, at
Mm.
Logan Park High School, I connected with the Māori community at the school. So I got to know some great fires, and was really involved. But I just felt connected because there were another brown
Mm.
community at school. So that's who I really gravitated towards at the time. Yeah.
Mm. You mentioned that that you're wanting to finally deciding that you wanted to be a teacher, but also not just helping Pasifika students, but non-Pasifika teachers
Mm.
engage with Pasifika students. So I was wondering if you could think back to schooling down in Dunedin, like how were non-Pasifika teachers, in your experience, engaging you as a young Pasifika student in the classroom? Can you remember some strategies that they were using to engage someone like yourself in the classroom, or was it more individually, like, and you motivating yourself? Do you know?
Yeah. From my own experience, it's sad to say that no, I didn't have an experience where teachers, made an effort to get to know me. To me, it felt like they were just doing their job, getting on with it. And I was, at that time, I was now I've learned that I was a compliant learner. So I've been just doing the work, getting the pass, and not really, really engaging in the learning. And so I think it would have helped having a teacher who was really experienced in dealing with diverse students, especially Pasifika students. And so that's kind of partly my motivation behind becoming a teacher. I always I had that quote, be someone who you wanted to be or who you needed when you were younger. And so that kind of motivated me to be a teacher so that I could be that person for someone who's in my situation, as a young Pasifika trying to navigate through high school and all that. Yeah. So, yeah. It was interesting because, one of my school experiences was because I have a Balangi name. I still had name issues, with pronunciation and things like that. But, I always wonder, if I was a different skin color, would that be the same issue, because,
It's so interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah,
I never would have thought that.
Yeah, even I still remember my classmates would, correct the certain maths teacher, like, it's Guinevere. But, till the very end, that teacher still said it incorrectly. And then it was kind of full circle where I went back to that school as for my practicum as a practicing teacher. So it was I could see that they were shocked that I was, I said I went to the school and, I was, proud. By this time I'm a confident Pasifika, student going back to my old high school and just promoting, Pasifika student engagement. So, yeah.
Can you remember a favorite teacher, whether in primary school or intermediate or high school, that really just inspired you and was that role model for you at school?
To be honest, no. I think I had a great support network at home. So through my parents, my mom and dad, heavy in their community commitments, as well as mom through her work with the universities growing up in Auckland and also down here in Dunedin. So I think I was fortunate to have that key support at home so that, even though I wasn't getting it at school, I was, at home, I was getting that support and backing. Yeah.
Our parents are our first teachers, role models. And, I was wondering, you bring up your parents, what are some important lessons, life lessons, and values that your parents have taught and instilled in you that have helped mold you into the confident woman that you are today?
I think I was actually thinking about this the other day, and what came to mind was my parents had always supported me and my brother 100%. Like, they would always, set their expectations to us and, expect better from us. And I think looking back now, like, there wasn't a moment where I felt like they didn't believe in me. So I think that's one thing I take from my journey growing up and still today, like, the importance of, family love, family support, and just, I'm thinking about, students who come to school without that, which really, is what makes me want to do what I want to do, because, you don't see what happens outside of school. So I think those teachings from my parents really stuck with me. Also, just backing yourself 100. Faith was a big thing in our household. So we were big believers in, wherever God places you, whatever opportunities come your way, you got to make sure that you give it 100%. Both my parents, they're big people on making sure whatever you do, you give it 100%. Especially my dad.
Mm.
He was always like, don't do that. Don't do anything if you don't know how to do it. Like, they were always encouraging us to do the research, do the training, do what you need to, complete a certain job or assignment to the best of your abilities. So that's one thing that has stuck with me, and I continue to do that. And to always remember who you are, where you come from. And like we'll just talking about, the teachings that your parents and church community talk about. Just remembering who you are. A funny memory comes to mind is my dad always, when I'm not, performing to, the standard that they expect of me. He's always like, "Oh, say Viah, are you a teacher?" Like, I was like, "Oh," like that just hurt, got me
Stab
in the field.
right here. Right in the fatu.
I'm like, can I not, have some downtime? But, they're always there, to put us in our place and remember who we are, and, and to don't take your achievements lightly. Yes, be humble, but to remember, you made it this far. You've got something in there and in here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually, something just came to mind as you were talking about, I think as teachers, Pasifika teachers, Samoan teachers, like, you wear many hats in the community. You go from school, and then in the community, your church, family, there are just so many hats that you wear. And it was when you said, "Oh, don't I get to have some downtime?" It made me think about, I don't want to say pressure, but it's wanting to do better, trying to maintain, it's hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to say pressure because it sounds negative, but I guess what I was just thinking about, it's always hard to always be, because I think I can't remember who mentioned this before, but, Pasifika teachers, you're held in high regard in the community, like just people hold you to, do you know what I mean? You can't be missing out.
I totally get what you're saying.
I was thinking about that as you were talking, and that it's just sometimes doing your best is not enough, but we're always trying to get to that next level.
Yeah.
To try and like just be better people.
When I was younger, it was hard. Like I used to always question, like, why do we have, like, especially with church commitments or community, like, because my mom and, like I said, my mom and dad were heavily involved in that kind of stuff. And so I would always question, like, why do we have to be there? Why do we have to do this? And I was like, I think I was lucky or fortunate that I had parents who would actually make time to make us understand. Like gave us the reasons behind why we got to do this, why we got to go there. And so I think that kind of helped me be less fali.
For real. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just, understanding, what's the event, why, what's our place in the community, and what's the purpose, etc. Has made me, appreciate the journey to get to where I am at now. But I do feel for, our younger generation who, are going through that challenging time, trying to balance church commitment, family commitments, being on top of schoolwork, etc. So that's some of the conversations I found I had a lot being a teacher at Avondale.
I always tell my students, if someone's sharing about like they're just having a rough time with their parents, communication wise with their parents, they're like the high school students, and I always say to them, they'll be teaching you a lesson right now. You have no idea. Years from now, you're going to look back, and we always laugh about it. And then I share with them, and they're just like, really? I'm like, yep. Years from now, you're going to look back, or 5 years from now, and you're going to realize, oh, they were actually teaching me something absolutely valuable It's just that at the time I was just being typical teenager, like
Yeah.
rebelling. So
But
that
that's
comes to
right.
my
Like I had those conversations too. Like I'm like, guys, you know, they're coming from a place of love. You
yes.
understand when you grow up and they're just rolling their eyes and they don't understand. But I'm like, trust me. And when you grow up, you'll understand
Yeah.
where they're coming from. But I think
Absolutely.
at the same time, I think our youth need space to just let it
Yeah.
out. Like
Absolutely.
they don't mean to act on it and misbehave, but they just need a space just to let it out. And then okay, yeah, I'm done with that, and then I'm good. Go back
I'm
to it.
good. We're good now. Done
Yeah,
it. Breathe in and out. You
yeah,
know,
that's right.
I wanted to really this leads on to Avondale College. I want to talk about teacher life. I have a lot of questions that I kind of want to pick your brain about, but I also first and foremost want to talk about Avondale College. Yeah, your journey
Yeah,
at Avondale College. Obviously, we'll talk about your work right now because you're currently back down at the University of Otago, but you have been a teacher at Avondale College. What has that journey been like for you thus far as an
uh,
educator, as a Pasifika woman, as a Pasifika educator, as someone in middle management? What has that been for you?
it's been I think a blessing. Having the time now to take a break from that and to look back has made me appreciate the last 6 years. It's been it's my first school out of teachers college, and just being through all the experiences I've been through, it's been a growing one for me personally and professionally. Being able to create space for Pasifika student success. The school has been really supportive in hearing my ideas and initiatives on how to, engage our students. But I mean, there are some challenges, but what I took away from my experience at Avondale College was that the senior management was always willing to listen and to support me in how to plan, because they're a big thing, and they want this too. They want our bus students to succeed. It's just what does that look like? How will it, how will we mobilize such initiatives? So I was fortunate to, be amongst, a supportive senior management team that really helped me wear the many hats that I did wear. But yeah, I think the biggest experience that I loved was interacting with our Pasifika students. That was the hardest thing to walk away from my students. And it just made me realize, the importance of having representation at schools, Pasifika teachers, but also champions, within, because there's a growing number of Pasifika teachers now, but many they have different strengths. Everyone has different strengths, and yeah, I was fortunate to be a part of a growing number of Pasifika teachers at Avondale College, because I started, and there was a small team there that were I'd say very experienced. That was like a nice welcome for me, being there and being welcomed by senior teachers, Pasifika teachers, who have now moved on, but now trying to carry that torch and be the same support network. I mean, provide a support network for new teachers coming through. So it's been a wonderful experience the last 6 years. I've having time now to reflect on all the experiences. I'm just like, that's God. Like I would never think, I would have done all that. Like I'm just still shocked most times, but grateful for the opportunities that I've had. Yeah.
I was thinking about your curriculum area, because you were at Avondale a technology teacher.
Yeah.
And in terms of student engagement, what is it about your curriculum area that is different from, I guess, what some people would say the more traditional core subjects like, math and English? What is it about technology that excites you and makes it just so different?
Being a part of the technology department and the classes that we have and the students that come through, I saw that as an opportunity to bring them together, to find common strengths amongst themselves. So that's what I really liked about being a technology teacher. But also, funnily enough, for carpentry, majority are our Pasifika students. Who choose this subject, carpentry. So I enjoyed just, connecting with my Pasifika students. Majority were, male students. We often had like a couple girls in our classes, but majority were young male students. So I've been fortunate to, have tough conversations with them, let them speak about, whatever issues they're going through. But that kind of opened up like a class talanoa, like inviting others from different cultures to be a part of the conversation, even though a majority were Pasifika. But, I just made sure that the class environment was safe enough for others to be a part of that community. Yeah.
So I have seen some of the cool things that your students have made, and I was wondering, I know this is going to be a difficult question to answer because I'm sure you have seen some amazing projects made in your classroom. But if you think about innovation and creativity, what would be top 3 things that have been made in your learning space?
I think the first thing was the speakers. Our year 10s get to make speakers, so they get to learn about how to connect a circuit board together, how to use the tools to do that, and then just seeing their face light up when their speaker actually works. That they actually connected components together and made a speaker work. And just seeing them buzz out about, how to create 3D models, how to make, see the 3D printer in motion. But for my seniors, I think the coffee table was a cool one because they get to design their own coffee table. And then in year 12, we assigned them to create like outdoor stools. Yeah, so year 11 and 12, we assign them, projects. And so by year 13, they get a project, but they get the creative side. So it's up to them to design a coffee table of their liking. Yeah, so
that's so cool.
Those are some of the projects we do.
And then for you, like, are you in terms of those different projects they're making and you're assigning them, like, do you make one alongside them, or do you have to prep beforehand to be like, here's my coffee table, now you go up and do? I mean, how much?
Yeah. Why are you laughing?
No, because I can imagine. I feel like
definitely
you make an amazing table. And you're just like, this is the best table here. Now go off and see if you can beat me.
No, I have to make it before they do, because I was design studies, so graphics based,
right? And
so it was only through my teacher training that I did some hard materials work. And so when I started in my HOD was like, would you like to teach carpentry, like practical subject? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And they saw it as an opportunity for a female teacher, but also a female Pasifika teacher, just to connect with our Pasifika students, but as well as, encouraging young female students to join. So for our projects, yes, I do have to make them in advance so that I know what I'm doing when I teach in class. But I remember, the earlier days, the kids would always test me. They're like, Miss, what's this tool called? Like, what do we do with this machine? And I've had so many learning experiences. Sometimes I would prep, but then sometimes I would learn alongside them, trying to model, it's okay to not know everything, but learn from experience. So that's been I've had so many fun experiences through that carpentry class. Yeah.
I think it's awesome, because we've never had like a tech teacher specialist, specialist teacher on the show. Like I've had many different educators, language arts, music, but it's so cool that we actually get a tech specialist, designer, graphic designer on here. I want to go back to just some of the different initiatives and projects. There was the Pasifika Study Night, Aspiring Pasifika Leaders Group, Māori and Pasifika Staff Support Group, Pasifika Mai Performing Arts Group, Pacific Student Engagement.
Yeah.
When you have these initiatives and projects set up in a school, what are the responses that you're getting from your students? Because it was cool to hear you talk about, there's a team of you, so staff, but I was wondering about students being drawn to these opportunities, taking on these opportunities. Like, were they coming in droves? Was your team active? Did you have to actively promote it, or were students really just drawn to opportunities for them, spaces that were safe for them to come to?
Yeah. So for most of the initiatives that I helped start and facilitate, they were all brought about because student voice. There was a need from students. So I took their needs and, decided to draw up some ideas on initiatives. So one of the earliest ones I supported and started was the Pasifika Study Night, which established in 2017. I know in past years they've always had a homework center, but it never stuck. I think it wasn't like ongoing. So I think that kind of motivated me to start this study night. And so the purpose for it was to create a safe space for our Pasifika students to come together. So they had a space where they can grow their confidence in learning, so that when they go in the classroom, that they feel a little bit more confident to engage with the teacher and the class content. And so, we started with like 10 students at the very beginning. I think at the beginning, majority of the staff thought it was just another Pasifika group that's just starting. But as the years went on, we initially started with Pasifika support staff, and then 5 years later to this year, we had 14 staff members, and majority were non-Pasifika. And so seeing the growth over the years has been awesome. Not only for the students getting that one-on-one support with subject teachers, but seeing the teachers understand why it's there. They see that the kids or our students are more relaxed in their Pasifika environment, and they understand that that space is an opportunity for them to come outside of their classroom and get to know their students. Because then we had teachers coming in, and then teachers getting their confidence to invite their own Pasifika students to come along to Pasifika Study Night. And so that was really nice to see. Like, I would have teachers email me like, I'm bringing this amount of students, is that okay? I was like, hey, there's no limits or any rules, so just bring them along. And so it's been nice to see the growth in that sense. The teachers getting confidence to use that space to better, to practice their ways of engaging with our students. So
were you able to, in your time at Avondale, were there networks where you could connect with other Pasifika teachers, like high school teachers, say for example in technology or just any other curriculum areas?
I think for the beginning part of my journey, I connected with the teachers only at my school.
Mm.
And so the Pasifika staff that were there before me, getting their advice and words of encouragement. But I was aware of I think it was the West Auckland Pasifika Teachers Collective. So I'd always follow their posts and their commentary, just getting, inspiration from that. But I do hope to, when I get back to, be more active and get involved, find time to be there, because I know there's a great team of West Auckland teachers who are a part of that. So it'd be nice to be amongst all of that. But sometimes I think from my own personal experience going to certain Pasifika events, it's always majority of the time would have been spent on negative, sharing negative things and not really focusing on solutions.
Yeah.
Because I'm real big on problem solving. Okay, so yeah, that's a problem. So what are we going to do about it? And spend time, planning, sharing best practices. But I will put my own personal opinions aside and do try and be more active in those groups. In terms of technology, I did attend a moderation workshop for technology teachers, and I think Central West Auckland teachers. So it was nice to attend that for the first time because some of my other colleagues would go, and then I got the invite. So it was nice to meet other carpentry teachers from around Auckland, and majority were male, and there were I think 3 of us female. There were some Māori teachers there as well. So it was nice to be, there, Pasifika loud and proud at that workshop. Yeah.
What are some challenging aspects of being a female Pasifika teacher in your teaching journey thus far? And it's possible that you haven't faced many challenges because you just seem to be a real positive, growth mindset type person who is really like go forward, like you said, problem solving, finding solutions.
Yeah.
Have there been some challenges that you've experienced as a female and a Pasifika teacher?
Yeah. So going back to all those hats I wore, the initiatives, I mean, getting to actually launching those weren't easy. I had to learn that, senior management, wanted a proposal. They needed, certain information in order to, get things running. So that was an experience for me, learning how to do that, to be really organized, bring things together, bring, the schedule, how things would work, because they want to know everything. How will it work? What are the benefits? How are you going to, sustain this in the long run? So it's been a great learning experience, being able to launch those initiatives and, learning from my mistakes, learning to delegate as well, making sure that I don't overload myself. And just to making sure that that everybody, that it's not just the responsibility of Pasifika teachers. That's what I've learned, later on in my teaching experience, that yes, I'm passionate about Pasifika student success, but, I'm starting to understand that it's not all on me, or the whole staff, has a responsibility to our Pasifika students. It's just an advantage that I'm Pasifika and, passionate about it. So I don't mind being a champion, but, we all got to do this together, kind of thing.
Yeah, because we've talked about, I had Sammy on here. Sammy, I had Sammy on here before. I've had Afamasanga, who's from in Christchurch, and we've talked about the workload of Pasifika teachers, because they both wear many hats as well. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, I watched those too, and I
your journey, and then when I hear from the brothers, and and I always say to them, there's only one of you. Look after yourself first.
Yeah.
Like, teacher life it can get overwhelming, and I love how you've said that you've realized now, or you've learned, that's part of your journey, is that it's not, it is everyone's responsibility. We all have a responsibility to each and every learner, student in our school.
That's right.
And in your situation, Pasifika students, it's not just the workload of the Pasifika teachers. It's not just your weight to carry, right? So I was thinking about that workload at any time in your experience in your 6 years of teaching. Have you felt overwhelmed, or is it just that you look back and reflect and go, hey, I did feel overwhelmed, but I've so learned from that, and now I have support from here and here and here?
Yeah, I think just recently I've become aware of I think being a senior, but to me I still feel like I'm a starting teacher. Being a senior teacher now, I think that I've learned, like what I said before, I've learned that it's not just my responsibility. It's about looking back and picking what went wrong, what went right, learning from my mistakes. But sorry, this is totally different, but I think I would have been overwhelmed earlier in my career if it wasn't for the prior experience I had before becoming a teacher. Because I completed 2 degrees before becoming a teacher. I was actively involved on university campus here in Dunedin through the Pacific Island Centre. So I was able to engage with students in that way and mentor and facilitate and help through all those community events. And so when I became a teacher and I had to wear those hats, I think to me, it was like not light work, but it was just like something I was used to. And I found that I'm quite an organized person. So I would make sure that I would organize everything, make room for mistakes. But I think as I, started getting more senior roles, like an associate dean and Pasifika student engagement lead, I had some good senior management team members who would mentor me and remind me that it's okay to delegate. It's okay to to just step back and let the others take lead. Because I think as a leader or as a TIC, I always want to make sure I organize A to Z and know how and make sure I have control of everything. But sometimes as a leader, you got to be able to just step back and let your team lead too. You got to learn to lead from the back as well. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh, I love that so much, man.
Because I'm only saying that because I've had colleagues who come straight from TCOL at Teachers College, and like second year they'll get so overwhelmed, like especially our Māori and Pasifika, because there's a lot of expectation. Oh, you're Māori, you're Pasifika, so you're the knowledge. You're the one with all the knowledge. So I feel for all the the teachers that come straight from Teachers College, because they haven't had time to be amongst the community. I mean, that's not to say all of the teachers, Pasifika and Māori teachers, are like that, but those who are not really connected in the community, our Pasifika community, or haven't been in those kind of environments. Yeah.
I cannot talk. I can't. I have a lot of questions, but I want to ask about Polyfest, because we cannot talk about Avondale College and not mention your journey with Polyfest, with your students in regards to Polyfest. I wanted the history of Avondale College when it comes to Polyfest is amazing, and just the community there, the people, the families involved. Through a teacher lens, can you share a little bit about the journey that you had with your Polyfest students?
Yeah, so I started in 2016. So 2016 and 2017, I was a support teacher for the past teachers in charge. So Palavi Timoteo and Helen Mangasiva. And so, I've, like you, I heard, great stories about, the champions at Avondale College. And so coming to Avondale College and being a support staff, I was just, blown away by, how organized and how professional the tutor team are, because they're the heart of, they say the students are the heart of the Avondale College, but that's not possible without the amazing tutor team who have a lot of experience and knowledge. Majority of the tutor team are alumni, and they've been through that amazing experience, Polyfest prep, and so just seeing them express their talents and passion for our kids, our culture. It's been nice to see every year. It's been amazing to see that connection the tutors have with the students. It's like, passing on the torch to them. Yeah, it's been really great. Like, I've never seen such a top tier, well-organized performing arts group. I'm not being biased or anything, but
no. I had to ask. I was just like, I cannot talk about your school.
I've grown up, performing artists, performing in school and community and family. But when I stepped foot in the practices, I was just blown away. Like, as an organized person myself, I was just like, wow, this is gold.
You're like this is it.
No, but yeah, it's just amazing just seeing, the beginning of the journey for the kids, and then seeing them on that stage. There's no dry eye, on performance day. The whole tutor team, the family, all the lectures and the tears and everything was worth it. Just seeing them come off that stage, so proud. It's just, it's just one of those things that you'll never forget.
In the years that you've been involved with Polyfest at Avondale, I was wondering, how have you seen the dancing, the singing, the movements evolve and become more innovative? Like,
it's funny that you asked that, because I actually think, being in my role now where I have to look at culturally responsive teaching and learning, I think in the practices, that is a great example of culturally responsive teaching and learning. Seeing how our tutors come in, engaged, aware of their, where they're at, their surroundings, what their job is, who they're dealing with, and the many ways of demonstrating and teaching the kids. I think that's just a perfect example of what culturally responsive teaching can look like in the classroom. Just seeing the students grow in their confidence as people as well is something special as well, because in the classroom some of our students are invisible or just not seen until they've been a part of the Samoan group, or they're on that stage. These students, to me, I think they feel recognized for who they are, and I can see that in their confidence. Yeah, so I think just seeing the tutors in action, for me as a teacher, it's just very inspiring. Seeing that they can be a teacher, but also be a mentor, a role model to the younger generation. So that's very, for me as a teacher, I deal with all the admin side of things and the behavior. So I make sure, the rules are in place and ensuring that, and just reminding them that, being a part of Polyfest is a privilege. They're still part of the school group. So, attendance inside the Polyfest practices and outside is just as important. Yeah.
So you're currently back at the University of Otago. You're a teaching fellow. Can you speak a little bit about you're on the 6-month post, like what it is that you're involved in, if you're allowed to, down at the university?
Yeah, so I saw this opportunity come up. Going into my 7th year of teaching, I was just, the last 2 years, I've been having this urge to, I think I missed learning and just, catching up on literature, just filling up my cup, because I think I was at a point where, my cup was empty. But I just wanted to learn more, because I knew I was, climbing the ranks at school. So I felt that I needed to have more experience behind me. so that I can, better support the students. This opportunity as a Pasifika teaching fellow at the university with the Higher Education Development Centre was one I was interested in, because it said, culturally responsive teaching, being a part of the team and helping design, we call it learning cafes. So I think you can loosely translate that to Talanoa sessions for staff on campus to come together and discuss, their culturally responsive teaching experiences. What are the challenges? What are the best practices, and how they're engaging with diverse students? Because the university does have a Pacific strategic framework, similar to the action plan. The action plan for Pasifika education that we use commonly at high school. So, so the university, in the community today, it's a big thing to be very on top of your engagement with Pasifika students, or diverse learners. So my job is just to, like I said, create spaces for those discussions, those talanoas with our staff. So that our department, so our centre specialises in providing services for academic staff to further develop their skills as lecturers or as teachers, as tutors. But we also have a space for developing students' learning as well. But I'm solely in the academic staff area. So I'll be creating space for our staff to come together and to talk about their experiences with engaging with Pasifika. So that's where I'm at the moment. And we hope to, from these discussions with our staff members, find out what are the issues, what are the areas that they see as a weakness, so that we can, design future workshops for them. Yeah.
Interesting. And then, in terms of future research aspirations, personally, from this, do you see yourself perhaps branching off into other areas? Yeah.
Being away from high school teaching has helped me look back at my experience over the years and really appreciate being a teacher at high school. Although I'm grateful to be here and to have this new job experience, I feel my place is back in the high school environment. It's funny because I've been here and reading up on, literature by our Pasifika academics, on Pasifika education and success. And, they go back decades. And what was shocking to me is that some of the issues they spoke about 10 years ago are the same issues that we are dealing with today. And looking at the time that they wrote those researches, Pasifika student support there wasn't many around, but today we have so much support around. Schools are growing their awareness to be culturally responsive. But yet to me, I hear that, we are still, there's still an achievement gap. Our students are still, they're achieving, but they're still below, the dominant, culture. So I'm quite interested to see how, or to find out how our students improve over the next 5 to 10 years with all the, the PDs that are coming up on Tapasa, on, action plan education. I'm quite interested to see how we will improve. Because Pasifika student success is an area that is so big, but, it's an area that I'm interested in. So being here has kind of helped me start the journey of trying to filter what it is that I would actually, do a research in, because there's, being here, the academic staff, advise, look for a gap, what is a gap in Pasifika student success that, we don't already know about. So that's where I'm at the moment with
Yeah.
looking to research.
Yeah.
What
Why do you think the achievement gap is still? Why is there still a gap there between? Why? Just from what you're reading, just personally, why do you think there's
Mm,
still that achievement gap? If we have more initiatives and projects that are now
mm,
being, that are now happening in schools, like
mm,
why is it? Is it that we're not able to sustain? There's no longevity in those programs, or there's
mm.
like, what do you think it is? Like, yeah.
I think there's a lot of things, but what comes to mind is one, I think our Pasifika communities can be more engaged in school environment. Like what I mean is, like, they can be more involved. There can be more events for them, or opportunities for our parents to come in outside of parent teacher interviews. I know it's hard for a big school, but there needs to be space for them. The reason why I say that is because, you know, I'm only speaking from my own experience, but, seeing kids play up or misbehave, when you unpack all of that, why they act that way is because the parents are not actively involved in their education. They know they, instruct them to do their schoolwork and things like that, but the kids know that they're not, the parents are not, hounding them about schoolwork. And so, an example, this year we started the Talanoa Ako Parents Program with some of our parents at Avondale College, and majority of the parents, loved being a part of it because it felt like to them that they had an insight to school and how it works, how they can better support their children. They were mixed. Some were, very committed, and then some, were honest about, me and my husband, we work nights, so we're not there, but we, they try different strategies and ways of supporting their kids. So that's one way of, getting the parents, the community involved, is also educating them about what they can do. And also, just creating space for our non-Pasifika teachers. I think that's something I've come to realize, and just hindsight, just observing from my own experience, is that there's so much PD for our teachers. And it's become a nice platform for us Pasifika and Māori teachers to express who we are, share our experiences as a Pasifika role model or teacher. But I think there needs to be space to hear from our non-Pasifika teachers as well. Because, for example, recently in a learning cafe I had for culturally responsive teaching and learning, as we were discussing challenges, there was one Palangi staff member who saw a challenge, who faced a situation that she thought was so challenging. But to me, that challenge in my experience was over here. So that kind of opened my mind and reminded me that our non-Pasifika teachers are not on the same level as we are. So sometimes, we can expect a lot from them, be, engage with your Pasifika students this way, A, B, and C. But we forget that they come from a different upbringing. They come from a different background and level of experiences. So how do we assess, how do we provide PD that's specific for, different levels? So
Interesting. I mean, no, it was interesting what you were saying
sorry,
about.
get it there.
No. It was no. It just had me thinking. I was just thinking about school and stuff, like what you were saying about non-Pasifika teachers, and there is a willingness to learn, but understanding, where are they getting that PD from? I think what you mentioned was super, super important, because I think a lot of times we we forget that. We forget to,
Yeah.
we realize that, you know, like all teachers in a school are stakeholders in a learner's education and student education. So, you know, as you've mentioned before, it's the responsibility of everyone, but it's at what levels, at what
Mm.
entry points are the different educators coming into the conversation. That's what I was kind of thinking about. I was like, that's so
So that
true.
there's you know, that they're taking, you know, they've learned the tools and they're taking the tools, but you know, is the outcome quality? What's the quality like? You know, are they, you know, getting that deeper connection with their students, not just, you know, being able to say "Malo lele talofa," but
yeah, but
you know,
it actually also had me thinking about it's to have the tools. It's one thing to have the tools and resources as stakeholders, as we are stakeholders as educators, but how are we communicating that to the learners? Like, in what forms of communication are we using? Because, like you said, greetings and, you know, that real surface level. And I'm not, by saying surface level, I'm not saying that's not important, but you know, there's some, the surface level stuff is anyone can do, but when it gets to that more in depth, when you're really trying to connect to a student's identity, and you know, whether it's religious or cultural, neurodiversity, all those different levels, like how are we communicating and how are we building rapport so that we're able to reach those different levels of a learner's profile and, you know, identity profile, you know.
That's where, you know, being in this on this new journey, learning about culturally responsive teaching, you know, you think, you know, as a teacher, you know, you already know that, but you know, coming here, I discovered that I only knew, like, you know, the tip of the iceberg. Like, there was a lot about culturally responsive teaching that I'm pretty sure not everyone knows about. It's commonly known as, you know, being able to engage with your students, you know, including their backgrounds and class content and so forth, and learning their languages and understanding cultural practices. But it's, you know, I followed this academic or former reading teacher called Zaretta Hammond. You know, she wrote this book, Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain, where she focuses on implementation, which is the main issue for culturally responsive teaching and learning. Like, you know, how I said it's commonly known as, you know, how can we incorporate culture and things like that? But through my research and discussions with staff, they get overwhelmed at that surface level things, where, you know, how am I supposed to know about every culture? How am I supposed to know every, you know, language? But what Zaretta looks at is understanding culture on a deeper level. So across all cultures, you know, there's similar beliefs and values. It's about being aware of those, being aware and knowing where the students, you know, come from. What are their ways of knowing through their culture? What are their practices that you can use as tools to help them understand the, you know, the class content? And so I think some of the PD that's been out there is great. You know, it's great that, you know, a lot of our Pasifika engagement PDs are being pushed out so that our schools can be more culturally competent. But then, like you said, we've got to be careful and, you know, and find ways to manage the different levels of understanding that non-Pasifika teachers have. Yeah, it's just about being careful. Because I'm really interested in seeing, you know, I'm sure some schools may have some processes on how to, you know, after this PD, observe a teacher. How are you, you know, applying what you've learned in the class? And is it working? Because I know it's all well, you know, we go to PD, we learn about all of this, but, you know, how are you showing that you've applied it? Pros and cons. Because in my experience, I don't think there was that kind of process. Like, you know, we'd have the end of year appraisals, but it's great to have, you know, some type of observation or during the year where we specifically look at, okay, how are you engaging with your diverse learners? What are some examples?
Yeah. I mean, in my experiences, when we, the appraisals are,
Mm.
those teacher growth plans,
Mm.
and they come around and observe. It's very, beginning of the year, everyone's all gung ho, and
Yeah.
these are the particular goals that I'm going to work on.
Mm.
But in the classroom setting, that's where everything takes place. That I mean, inside and outside, depending on the different spaces you
Mm.
work around in school. But it's all good to have, like, okay, I've checked these boxes, but how do you continue that? Like, it's like, okay, I've got these goals, and how do you continue working on those goals? Like, once a new class comes through, you have to build
Mm.
rapport, you have to, cultivating like these equitable learning spaces for learners. It's not just a 9-month, 10-month thing.
Mm.
It's like, how do we maintain that, or how do we change it up when different learners are in front of us? Do you know what I mean? I think that's, we always talk about being lifelong learners, and
Mm.
how as teachers we continue to evolve, but it's not just, it goes beyond these observations and these teacher growth plans. It's called teacher growth for a reason. So,
Yeah.
the idea is the work continues, and that you learn to navigate these different spaces depending on the learners that come in. So it's
Mm.
not, you don't, strategies that you use for one particular class may not even work for another class. That's, we
Mm.
have to get away from that mindset that we can just, oh, I've got strategies, it works with everyone. No,
Yeah.
like, you have to do the research on the learn. You need to find out, you need to know who are the different learners that are now in front
Mm.
of you in 2022. Over the summer, they come back in 2023, and they could have developed and grown
Mm.
more as teenagers. So it's just this constant, like, rebuilding and
Mm.
rebuilding the classroom climate. Thinking about the strategies that you're using. That's why we say we're lifelong learners. But I think
Mm.
in education, it's so easy to be stuck, because you can say, I've taught 10 years,
Mm.
I know everything. And it's like, no, like, as soon as you say, I know everything about teaching, you've basically stopped learning. And if
Mm.
we're at that point where we're just kind of like not moving anywhere, then how are we meant to, differentiation, culturally responsive teaching, all of that, visible
Mm.
learning? How do we do all of that? All those educational buzzwords, how do we continue to stay active? How do we stay proactive, right? All
Mm.
of that doesn't work if we just kind of like, if we're stagnant and we decide, okay, I know everything. I just went off on a tangent. I just,
No,
like, I really like what you're saying. It's
because
really,
going off what you just said, as I was prepping for this um, podcast, it came to me when I was looking at the initiatives that I was working with. That study night example that I showed, that I
mm,
shared, um, just really observing the non-Pasifika teachers come out of their comfort zone
mm,
and engaging with our Pasifika students, because I think in real time in their class they're not able to
mm,
go off and you know directly engage with our Pasifika students the desired way we would like them to. And so this study night space, I've seen some of the teachers who have had challenging students and have had
mm,
used the study night space to have one-on-one time, get to know the students a bit more, and then going back into the class, their relationship has improved.
mm,
So I think, one solution could be providing a space for non-Pasifika teachers to practice or
mm,
to have a separate, more informal setting to engage with their diverse or Pasifika learners, so
mm,
that once they've established that, once they've had space and time to establish that relationship, then going into the classroom setting, both
mm,
the teacher and the student is confident. They've brought all their walls down and they're ready to learn and engage.
mm.
That's one
Yeah, I like how you said,
solution.
when you were talking about non-Pacifica teachers coming out of their comfort zone in this different space, like the study night, because it's so true. Like, like, it takes, we know what it's like when you step out of your comfort zone. It takes a lot of courage for people to do that. And it's like, we have to remember that, again, it's a reminder that people are at different, um, places in
Mm,
terms of their learning. We talk a lot about DEIJ, which is a big push that, what we're pushing for at our school, like diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice,
mm,
but it's always that realization, constant reminder that we are all at different places in
mm,
our journey. And so, I like that you mentioned that, they come to the study night and it's so out of their comfort zone, but that even that first step is a step.
mm.
That's a step in saying, I'm willing to do this because I want to, because the classroom, it's about building relationships. It's building those connections with our learners. So I think, that's so important to
Yeah,
remember,
and
a
we got to
reminder.
remember that in this new time that we're at, it's not the same as back then.
Yeah.
Like the generation back then. So our youth today are more vocal about
Yeah.
injustice and
Yes.
their feelings and what they want. So our teachers need to prepare for that as well. And so having a separate space to do that, to to break down those walls and get to know each other, so that when they get to the classroom, they're ready to do what they came here to do, to learn and to teach. So I don't know.
And like you said with the talanoa ako, like, they're having those spaces where they can talk, affinity spaces where different groups of teachers can share and not feel pressured or judged. And I say that because even me, like if I'm in a really unfamiliar situation, and we also know what it's like when you're sitting there like, oh my God, am I going to be judged because, I look a different way, I sounded, so it's, in this day and age, this is part of the teaching journey and learning as educators, is understanding that, there are different entry points, no matter the years of teaching experience that you have behind you. But at some point we need to remember again that we are all part of this. It's a collective. There's no one person waving the flag for everyone. It has to be a collective effort by all the stakeholders, from the parents to the guardians to the teachers to the mentors to the students.
Even with that Talanoa Ako Parents Program, although we were, providing useful tools and knowledge for our parents, but they were also able to open up their experiences and share, what they go through with us teaching staff. And at the time we only had Pasifika teaching staff, but I could only imagine if we had, non-Pasifika teachers who would hear these stories, hear, the challenges and struggles that students talk about, being, confirmed by parents, that they have, a little bit of not leniency, but understanding of whether, what the student goes through at home. So I think creating space, for all the stakeholders to, work together. When everyone is working together, then, positive outcomes for
Absolutely.
our students.
I wanted to talk a bit about the puletasi. I want to talk about the puletasi because, I've talked about it on here before, as as some guests have said, the puletasi is their power suit. And I wanted to ask you, what is your power suit when you're turning up to meetings? Like, what is it that, when you're attending meetings, and is it, do you dress depending on, we had this conversation, like I attended a PD, sorry, just real quickly, I attended a DEIJ PD maybe last month, and the principal at the elementary school where the PD was held, she was Indian, and she mentioned about how her power suit depends on the audience that she is going to, because it's usually like men, a lot of, like, she's like, she thinks about, sometimes her curly Indian hair, people giving her funny looks. So she's always trying to, before she attends a big meeting or conference, she's like, who's going to be there am I going to be more Indian today? Am I going to be, flex my I'm a foreigner in Japan outfit, kind of thing. Anyway, I thought it
Yeah.
was such an interesting conversation because we went on a long tangent after that, but I wanted to ask you, do you think about this type of stuff when you're attending different conferences and PD sessions? What is your vibe? What do you go for?
Yeah, I
As a
actually,
professional.
yeah. So when I'm either leading a Pasifika initiative or events, being invited or attending, my power suit is the pulitasi or Pacific dress. I think in my teaching journey, I've kind of adopted the bun and the say.
I love it.
If you see me before teaching, I've never,
Yeah.
but ever since I've started, this was my go-to. And so my students and actually colleagues, they would actually say they'll, go to a school event and scan and see if I'm there. Where's the bun and flower? So it's a big thing when I change my hairstyle. So that's my power suit, like especially during language weeks. I love, 5 days a week, Pacific wear. And it's funny because, being a carpentry teacher, you have to wear the safety gear.
Right.
And so that's the only week that I, bend the rules a bit, use, wear my cultural wear. And it's funny because my students are just so used to it. I'm thinking that I'm going in and they'll be like, wow. But they, they're just like, oh, that's masala. Yeah. That's very normal. So, so I think, yeah, cultural or Pacific wear is my go-to power suit. Every time I gear up for a presentation or anything like that, staff briefings, I'd wear my Pacific wear and just be like, it feels like I'm putting on armor,
Yeah.
my armor to go to war, but it's just to, represent, our community. So yeah, I'd say, yeah, pulitasi or Pacific dress is my go-to power suit.
And what is the beauty and symbolism of the pulitasi? Like you mentioned, I love how you said it's like your armor. Oh, that's pretty cool. Sis.
Yeah, because I feel weird if now I feel weird if I attend and I'm not wearing, even though, my lovely skin and face, represents, but I think why not just be extra, like having the mum I had, like, extra is the norm. So, that's my go-to. And so it just symbolizes, I think for me, power for our people. But it's not, I think for me, it's not about me. It's about those who see me, like especially the students and also our Pasifika staff. They probably think, yeah, we get it, you're Pasifika. But, it's just intentional just to be in their face. We're here. Yes, I'm that person. I'm accepting my responsibilities and this calling, all of that. Yeah.
I love it. What is growing up in the whakasa, what has that taught you about voice, choice, and action, if anything?
Yeah. I think for all of them would be through spiritual teachings and cultural side of whakasa has taught me about knowing your place. Stay in your lane and know your role. It hasn't been easy, learning.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing that was strong in my mind when I saw that question, because everyone, you're here for a reason. God has a plan for you. So learning that, accepting that God's place in your life, but in our cultural settings. Also respecting, cultural protocols, respecting your elders. A lot of those events kind of instilled in me, there's a time and place for everything. So it's important to know your role, where your lane is in order to be a part of these communities, or this community of whakasa. Yeah.
Great answer. And
again, it's something our youth are still, But I'm just like, we went through that, so you got to go through it. Not to say, go through it alone, but, we're here.
Exactly.
We made it, so,
Yeah, if we can get out of the tunnel, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
For real.
And, at that age, they're just, respecting their parents' wishes. But, as they grow up and go into professions, they'll
realize.
They'll use their experiences from, that church experience in those professions that they go to. So
yeah, it's so funny, when you talk about like culture and language. I think I can't, maybe I've said this before on the podcast. I think when I talk about that kind of stuff, like, some of the Whaongas here, they don't you can tell from their faces, they just don't understand, I talk about the village and that the importance of our names or our family names, and that you carry that with you wherever you go, and whether it's in a different community spaces that you work in, like your family name is everything. And so our ancestors, when I talk about that, like ancestry and our heritage, I think a lot of Balangis are just like, huh? But it doesn't stop me. Like, I'm really just like, I just want them to understand, like, I'm not just a teacher. Like, sorry, this was really off on a tangent. I say all this to say that just really going back to the idea of getting to know our learners. Like, if you don't know yourself, like, you can't be like asking students about history and ancestry and all that, but you don't even know yourself. Okay, that sounds a bit mean, but you know what I mean?
No,
like, I just like
no, I get it. No, that's
so that was off on the tangent, but
no, that's one of the key points of culturally responsive teaching.
Yes, like,
you can't expect them to open up when you're not gonna open up yourself.
Yeah, this day and age of social media, how difficult, like, do you find it difficult to speak out on issues that you're passionate about or issues that you advocate for, especially in this like cancel culture day and age that we live in?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a challenge. I think it's just not what I'm used to. Like I mentioned before, growing up and being, instilled in me to know your place. There's a time and place to speak up and all that. And I think growing up, how I dealt with those challenges of, having to understand that was I picked up this sense of walking the talk. Like I find myself like, people always wonder, my previous colleagues, like, just speak up, go to that meeting, let them know. But I'm all about, doing the groundwork, like, because I know what they want or is expected of me. So I always do the hard work, or, do the mahi or whatever it is that needs to be done, so that when there is an opportunity where I have to speak, then there's something to speak about that I can speak on. Because I feel like I just don't want to add to something when I don't even, live it or experience it. Otherwise, I just, observe, take it in. And sometimes I use it as an opportunity to, gauge what my students think about it, and hearing their experiences. And then I can, share my experiences as well. But that's where I stand in, the whole social media. Like, even now, this platform here, this is a big thing for me, coming out of my comfort zone and just being where I'm at on my journey. I just felt like this is my chance to, speak what I'm passionate about, and hope that, plant little seeds in people who are watching, that they may have their own questions and, bring up some ideas and solutions. Yeah.
How do you take care of your well-being and mental health? In the state, busy teacher life, now busy doing research-related things. How do you look after yourself?
Going to the gym is a big one for me. I make sure I make time to go to the gym in the morning, like around about 4:00 before work. I just find that, going to the gym kind of sets the tone for me for the day. So I'm up, energized, get those endorphins or whatever they're called, so I can go about my day. To be honest, if I miss the gym, like I just feel sluggish. I think that's just my own experience. So if I get up, go to the gym, I feel energized to go about my day. So that's one way I deal with, my mental well-being. Lately this year, I have been journaling. So just, before work with my cup of coffee, just, writing about anything and everything, even if it's just a prayer for the day. I just feel more relieved when I just, put my thoughts, feelings, or whatever experiences to paper. Has really helped me. Also with my, journey with grief, having lost dad almost a year now. So I feel that's one tool, one way that I can, deal with that, but also as a growing teacher and wanting to learn more, it's important for me to let those thoughts out and so I can prepare myself for the day. So those are the main two. And then the last one, just materialistic things, would be just getting a mani-pedi, having some downtime and just, spoiling myself. Yeah.
That's awesome. I want to ask real quick that you one time did charity boxing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was wondering, how was that? What was, because you trained hard. Yeah, I mean, you trained hard for that. I mean, it's not like it's easy.
Yeah,
I thought that was so cool. What was that like for you?
Like 4 years while I was in Auckland. So for the 3, for the first 3 years, I did box fit. And so I just felt, I was getting fit and loving boxing. And then it got to like the 3rd year where I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for more. And so this community event came out to support Women's Refuge. And so where, our gym was opening up, chances for people to sign up. So I signed up. I just saw it as an opportunity for me to get out of my comfort zone and to try something new. And so, yeah, it was a great experience. The first fight, I had my parents come up for it, and they were really big fans of me, their princess boxing, but they were happy to be there. So the first fight, it was a unanimous, so I lost. I was not knocked out, just to be clear.
Yeah.
And then after that experience, I was so determined to get back in the gym and give it another go, because I knew I was so disappointed because I knew I have what it takes to win. And so I think I wasn't as disciplined as I should have been. So the second time round, I had a change of coach, new club, and my new coach was just straight up the guts, didn't muck around, would tell me straight, like, you're doing it wrong, or, stop the whole class just to, teach me, what we're used to, Pasifika style. She would always, catch me out and be like, remember when you lost? I was like, oh, okay. Like, she was really hearty about, she loved her sport. So I think that's what really drew me to her, to this new coach. And so, yeah, I was like, I want to be fit. So she was on my case about, eating the right foods, training, resting. And so that second fight came around and, I won. So it was my first time ever, I think, in a sporting experience, getting to that kind of close to athlete,
Yeah.
levels. So that was such a big achievement for me, just to get that win and to, and also it was like a confidence builder as well, like to believe in myself in that realm. Yeah.
You're awesome. See, fam, this is why I said at the beginning in the intro, she's such a risk taker, man. That is so kick butt. I love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. Future dreams and aspirations, career-wise, personal.
Yeah. I think career-wise, I am determined to get back into the classroom. I realized halfway through my teaching career that I do want to climb the ranks and hopefully get into senior management down the line. But yeah, being down here has really made me, want to get back. I've kind of got this like new sense of energy too, and also, my perspective has kind of, widened with the time that I've had to, read up on literature and looking at culturally responsive teaching and learning. So I'm really keen to get back into the classroom and continue fighting the good fight and making sure that our students are supported. Personal goals, I think buying a house and traveling is on the cards. So that's where I'm at with, personal goals. Yeah.
And do you have any book recommendations or a book to recommend?
Yes, I've probably saying it so many times in this podcast, but it's, culturally responsive teaching and the brain. I highly recommend it to, any teacher at any stage, at any level, but also to parents as well. What I really loved about it was that it didn't, although most of CRT, culturally responsive teaching, is promoted as, race and ethnicity, culture, learning about culture, which is, an aspect of it, but the majority of it is looking at how teachers instruct our classes, how we deliver. And what her main message is that she has a framework herself. And so if you follow this framework, if you work all four components together in sync, then, you will start to see success from our diverse learners. And, if we get it right, it doesn't matter whatever culture background they come from. If us teachers get ourselves right, then, whatever student is in front of us will learn better. And that's the main thing. So, improving our instruction and making sure our students know how to learn. Yeah.
That is so on point. That is so on point, and I have so much to say about that because that is the key, exactly what you shared right there. But I'm not going to share it now because then we'll go off on another tangent. That'll be like chapter 2. That'll be like episode 2 with Miss Alai next year. And I have so much to say on that because you just hit it right on, man. Like, for real. Anyways, I've had you online for so long already. We're just, getting ready to wrap up the show. There's so much you've shared today that has kind of really resonated, especially in terms of pedagogy and just your journey and your experience as an educator. I'm blown away. I'm inspired. I'm so grateful that we finally got to sit down and do this. I just want to encourage you, Viah, just to keep smashing those goals, keep inspiring our young people. I hope that we can have these conversations. I hope we can chat more about this. I don't know when it might happen, but it sounds like you're doing some amazing things. I'm interested in the literature that you're reading and research that you're reading around CRT. And I really just look forward to continuing to follow your journey. Just thank you for just being the inspirational person that you are. Just give my love, send my love to your mom, rest in love to your dad. Both your parents are just pillars in the communities that they belong to. So I'm sure that they are both very proud of who you are, where you are now, and what you've become, and who you're going to continue to be. So just keep on being amazing, sis.
First off, I'd just like to thank you for inviting me to be a part of this amazing platform, your podcast series. Thank you for, not giving up and making sure that I got back to you about this opportunity, getting me out of my comfort zone. But I think it's also an important part of my journey to start, sharing my experiences so that I may able to, plant seeds in other people and start to question, Pasifika student success and what that means to different people. So I thank you for giving me this limelight to share my journey, and I've taken a lot from this experience as well, even just, hearing your commentary and just hearing myself as well, I will take a lot from this experience. So thank you for that. But words of encouragement for those out there, I think the main 3 I came up with was 1, back yourself 100%. No matter what you do, just believe in yourself 100. Second is, just let me get my handy dandy paper. Second is, yes, the first one is about yourself, back yourself. Second, about the people you surround yourself with. So choose people who choose you. Appreciate your village, the people behind you. Because when challenging times come, you will see who are your real day ones. So appreciate those around you. And I think the last one is just be grateful, have that grateful attitude about, the opportunities that are given to you, the experiences that are given to you, because, everything happens for a reason. You either learn a lesson or a blessing from God. So those are the 3 things I'd like to leave you all with.